Thank you. Okay, so again, thank you very much for attending today's webinar. Not a lot of things on the agenda, but I hope that there's information here that's valuable to you. And of course, always know that their questions are welcome and will be answered to the best of my ability, and I'll turn to my peers when needed. Okay, so these are some of the things that I will be covering today, just clarifying some points and making sure that you have this information for you to support your districts and teachers, of course, and students. All right, so NSCAS dates. These are out on the website, of course. There are other bits and pieces that have shown up in our DAC Facts newsletter, but just want to make sure. March 21st, first day of testing for ACT. April 3rd is the first test date for, or opening of the test administration for the spring NSCAS growth. You'll have access for NSCAS growth tickets on March 20th. The student management for NSCAS growth is now open. I believe actually it's open for all tests. Am I correct there, Maggie? Maggie?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I was preoccupied. My apologies.
Sorry.
What was the question?
Student management systems, they're open for all vendors.
All three
am I correct?
assessments.
Yeah.
Yes,
Great.
yes, they are.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to bother you.
No, my apologies.
No. NSCAS alternate student test booklets and test administration manuals be available in the Insight platform on March 13th. So coming up soon. Regarding the alternate assessment, taking that onto another slide, the alternate assessment spring proctor training is on the assessment website. It's current and can be used by districts because there was not a great deal of change between last year and this year's training. We are continuing with the document that's already present. The NSCAS alternate proctor training and online training tools are found on the website. That's a link, and you should have access to this not only from the website, but then also I just dropped in the link to the slides, and there should be a direct link from the slides to the website. There are also practice tests and item type samplers now available on the assessment site. And should be available both on the assessment side and the special education side. Is that correct, Sharon?
No, these are just available on the assessment site.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Appreciate that. All right. Here we go. Text to speech. Yeah. When I think I have this nailed down and everything's clear and clarified and everybody knows, there seems to be something that still needs to be clarified. So text to speech is now available in both English and Spanish. Text to speech is a universal accommodation for math and science. It does not need to be on the student's IP or 504, but it should only be used on a rare case-by-case circumstances where the student is receiving this accommodation in the daily instruction. Text to speech for ELA does need to be on the IEP 504 or a current EL student. It will not read the reading passages, but there are instances, as we've mentioned in the past, where a passage that's associated with a writing standard may be read. And so if the text to speech is operating or reading a passage, it should be a writing standard that's being measured. Please refer to pages 9 and then also 49 to 52 in the accessibility manual for more guidance. It's come to our attention that there is a misalignment with the short form. We are getting that language cleaned up and it will be reposted by Monday. So those of you who are looking at the short form, that's also on our website, that language will be cleaned up as well. Okay. Any questions? Oop, looks like we got one. Short form of the accommodate, yes, ma'am. It's the short form of the accommodations document that is not aligned with this language. It does not mention Spanish is available, basically is the difference. Okay. NSCAS Growth Winter Administration Student Result File and the ISRs are available to download in Acacia. That's the NSCAS Growth platform. So those of you who tested NSCAS Growth in the winter have access to these resources. Professional learning. Allie, I hope you're on.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, you take over, and if you want to share those links, I'll stop sharing and then you can.
Okay.
Okay.
So we have some upcoming events. We have the spring webinar on March 27th for certified facilitators. And then we have our annual planning meeting that's coming up on the 29th. So wanted to go over some formative assessment support networks. Links are in the PowerPoint, but I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and show everyone where you can find some of those resources. So on the NDE page, everyone knows the assessment homepage where we go. There's NSCAS Growth. If you scroll down to formative assessment, we have a lot of information about our formative assessment supports network. So like the certified facilitator program, the formative assessment supports network is a resource for schools and districts across the state surrounding formative assessment practices and what that looks like. So we have an introduction PowerPoint and a brochure that just talks about the network. We have our theory of change. We have a link to the science repository. And then we have some information on our network coaches and what that looks like. I wanted to share some of the resources. We do have some formative assessment competencies. So we have some for what an assessment literate teacher looks like. So we looked at balanced assessment, what those foundational statements would be, and assessment literacy in data, assessment literacy in content. Then we looked at activating learners and clarifying learning, utilizing evidence, and providing quality feedback. So we have these documents that are available that just go through what sound practices teachers have. So this is available and can be shared with your teachers across the district. It's important to note that these came from Nebraska educators. We had about 20 people that participated, classroom educators, ESU folks that worked together and looked at these foundational statements. So this is built for Nebraska educators. Then we have a set of school leader competencies on what an assessment literate school leader looks like. So there's some belief statements and some information on how to use data, how to promote a culture of professional development, providing time and support, maintaining an assessment schedule and calendar, just some best practices of what an assessment school leader looks like. And then finally, we have one for student and families. So what assessment literate students and their families look like, and then more specifically for what students have. So these documents are all aligned with the NTPP, and we worked with those departments with NDE on setting these documents up. So just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware and where they were housed. Any questions or thoughts on these documents? Okay. We do have a second cohort of coaches. We have an informational meeting coming up on March 22nd from 4 to 5. If there's anyone on the call that's been in the DAC updates, we've tweeted. If there is anyone who is interested and wants more information about the Formative Assessment Supports Network and that second cohort, just let me know. We will get you an invitation to that meeting, that informational kickoff meeting for the second cohort of coaches that is starting. The next piece that I wanted to go over was that we have some online resources. Part of the supports network is also creating some asynchronous online course materials. So our first course that was developed is Nurturing Collaborative Learning Spaces. So this is an online course, and it's technically 5 parts. There's 3 sections of learning, an introduction and a conclusion. So we involve students in fostering a learning community where trust and respect are paramount. The asynchronous offering provides essential time and space to practice 8 skills that are a foundation to learner success, well-being, and self-efficacy. So those skills are broken into 3 different parts. Our first part includes listening and responding to learner context. The course goes through learner context, what it means to be sensitive to cultural backgrounds, differing perspectives, and the learning environment. Normalizing purposeful routines to support learning expectations. It goes into procedures and routines on what that looks like, and developing collaborative learning norms. So those 3 skills build into part 1. Part 2 is building independent and interdependent learning skills. Whole group, small group, and individual work plays into that. Providing options and resources to engage learners, how we get learners engaged and looking at the subject matter. And then supporting the development of higher order thinking and self-directed learning. Those 3 skills build part 2. And finally, part 3, sharing the ownership of learning and fostering a healthy learning environment through shared expectations. We dig into those 2 skills. Throughout the journey, we look at going from the continuum of being able to explain what the skill is and why it's important, to moving to applying the skills for students, to eventually applying the skill with students, how we empower our students to be on that learning journey. So this course is available, and it's designed. So I talked about the 3 parts. We have an introduction. Part 1 are those first 3 skills. Part 2 is the second 3 skills, and the final 2 skills are in part 3. Then we have our optimistic closure and performance assessment. So this online course takes you through an overview. It gives you a readiness for skill development. It asks you where you are now. It gives some starting points of where you find yourself. There's self-assessments in the course. And then shifting and examining our mindsets, where we're starting. Then it gives some options of where we want to work through. There's different 3rd grade classroom, 5th grade classroom, PLCs, and then a high school example. And then pulling it together for making it matter, going through the resources and downloading copies. There's a course syllabus that goes through the information. And it just helps you find and navigate where you are in the course. It takes you through the plan. It gives you those options and what's included. Throughout the course, you're able to build badges. So you get a badge for the introduction for part 1, part 2, part 3, and the closure. So getting the whole overview is important. Then we get into the actual skills. It has the same format where we have skill 1 talking about what it means to listen and respond to learner context. It gives some quotes. There's different activities. There's flashcards. It really is meant to be a self-paced course where you can work through. Then skill 2, skill 3, there's some guided planning, and then resources and endnotes. And it does the same path for part 2, part 3, and then we have our optimistic closure. So there's a recap on the course. It talks about personalizing your journey and then preparing for that performance assessment. There is a built-in performance assessment for teachers to check in and see where they are with their task, and that gets feedback from course instructors. So I just wanted to showcase and let people know what's available on the formative assessment practices. We can check in with coaches, or you can check in with me if you're interested on learning more and having your teachers go through the self-paced course. Shruti, did I forget anything?
No, ma'am. Pretty good. Thank you. Appreciate that. And all of this is in support of building and enhancing, expanding assessment literacy within the state. It's just one of those pieces to creating a balanced assessment system. That is one of the goals that we have identified through the assessment team in support of districts building their own balanced assessment systems. And this is just one piece of that. So want to make sure that you knew that those resources were out there and ensure that beyond reading about it, that you actually had an opportunity to see it. So thank you, Allie. Really appreciate your time in doing that. And these were those links that we have in the slide deck to specifically the foundational statements and the handouts. And there. Okay. So yeah, thought this was in a better place, but circling back around to accommodations. So a reminder on this, this is in the wrong spot. Okay. So the accommodations that you assign to students in Acacia must be listed on the student's IEP or 504. We really want to make sure that whatever accommodations that you identify in Acacia are being provided during instruction, that the student has that opportunity to receive and learn using those accommodations. As Sharon pointed out, when NDE reviews the IEPs from monitoring, this is what they look for: a correlation between what's listed on the services page and in the district and statewide assessment part on the IEP. If they're not provided in instruction, districts cannot use them on the NSCAS. It's not beneficial to the student if they have not had a chance to use an accommodation other than just for the assessment. Sharon, did you want to clarify anything on this?
Nope, you did a good job. Just remember, we are always looking for that correlation between classroom instruction accommodations and what is being used on statewide assessments. And like Trudy said, we do look at that when we're monitoring your IEPs for your districts.
Okay. Oh, wrong way. Okay.
Can I
I have
Iris?
a question, Trudy.
Oh, sure. Yep.
okay, so if students use like with respect to text to speech, for example, a lot of our district assessments, that's not allowed, it's because they're taking paper or whatever. But
Right.
if they have a human reader that are reading things aloud for other things, and that's not available on NSCAS, but text to speech is what is, it's okay for them to put text to speech down under those circumstances because they are getting those reading supports regularly, even though the format of it is a little bit different.
There's a big difference between a read aloud and text to speech. And when it's a human reader, it's considered a read aloud. And our reasoning behind this is kids need to be able to understand what text to speech sounds like, and they are exposed to it before they are exposed to it on the statewide assessment.
Right.
So-
And so we make sure that they have practice with materials, but for example, on our ELA assessments, we don't allow a reader on those because we're using them for different purposes. But we say if they use them in other areas, like for example, if they use text to speech on math, or if they can practice using the state practice materials and get comfortable with text to speech, that it's okay to put that on if they have a human reader, because there isn't anything analogous in the classroom in some situations. And so we do our best to give them practice, but because we don't allow human readers on the NSCAS, that's not an option for them. And so they're not going to totally line up, but these are things that they are practicing to the extent that is possible.
Mhm.
So what we look for when we monitor IEPs is that we're seeing text to speech is being provided during instruction. And then also it's listed as what's being provided on assessment. So they still need to have some kind of exposure to text to speech in instruction.
Okay.
Does that help, Bethany? I'm not seeing you, so I hope that's a nod. Okay.
And Bethany, that could be in other
Yeah.
subjects. It doesn't have to just be for, ELA, any exposure that they're having to text to speech.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. And
Okay.
obviously it's not going to be in the NSCAS platform, but if they're using text to speech through their Google or something, that's okay.
Yes.
Mhm.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Okay. All right. Very good. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Iris,
Hello, everyone. Good morning, Trudy.
good morning. Our favorite ACT person.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Uh, on so many levels, I must say. I want to say to everyone, thank you for your patience with me. It has been extremely busy. If I don't answer your phone calls or emails immediately, I will do my best to get back to you. But I am one person. So hopefully I can meet all of the needs that you have. So don't hesitate to reach out to me. Just be aware that please leave me a message, whatever you need to do or send me an email so that I can help you. So if you are testing March 21st with paper tests and have not received your materials, please let me know immediately. And that's paper. So if you're testing online, right, you're setting up your sessions, you're getting ready for that. So, but if you do not have paper tests for March 21st and you're anticipating the test on that date, I need to know. My ACT accounts with the non-test information, college score report codes, all that great information that's helpful to you in your summary reports is open now and can be done anywhere between now and up to 2 days after testing. So, and there might, if you're having any difficulties with that, with the student code, we know I've had a lot of calls about apostrophes. In the past, we've had hyphens be an issue, and this year seems to be apostrophes. Please reach out, let me know, or you can have the student call ACT at 319-337-1270 to get that resolved. Online testing. Lots of new schools are testing online this year. Thank you so much for all your willingness to participate in that, and your contact with me and making sure that you're ready. If you feel any hesitation, please either contact me or reach out with the link here to the ACT technical guide for online testing, because that has step-by-step directions on how to be prepared for test day. Do I have any questions on that? Any of that? Love it. Okay, pre-ACT. Monday starts the spring test window for those schools who chose pre-ACT in the spring as your option for with ACT. We have approximately 30 schools who have not ordered test materials yet. Please be sure to do that as soon as possible. Use the Nebraska State contract when you're ordering. NDE does not pay for expedited shipping, so please plan and order accordingly. It takes about 2 weeks to get there, so make sure that you get those in as soon as possible. Any questions about the pre-ACT? Okay, okay. This is something I added after we're talking about the MyACT. I know that all of you do a great job of making sure students include that because of the opportunities with the college score reports, but also the information that is included in there that gets into their individual reports. We all know that that can be instrumental in helping a student find their direction. I have provided here a screenshot of where you can find the student code usage report. That tells you who set up their MyACT account, and if they requested any college score reports. It won't tell you which college score reports, and it won't tell you how many, but that they did complete the process of creating the account and requested college score reports. Great tool. The report is very easy to use. You just go into reports, published reports, click on that student code usage report link, that little blue link right there, and it downloads for you. So any questions on that, please don't hesitate to reach out. Okay. Is that it? Is that it for ACT? Oh,
Yeah.
Thanks everyone.
Thanks, Iris. Okay, we've actually fielded a couple questions and seem to do so every year, talking about an alternate NSCAS ACT. There is no assessment called the NSCAS ACT alternate. Most of you know, but I'm just putting it out there, third-year high school cohort students participate in either the NSCAS ACT or the NSCAS alternate assessment. As you know, the alternate assessment is for students with significant cognitive disabilities. This is usually going to be less than 1% of your student population. All other third-year high school cohorts are participating in the ACT, whether they have accommodations or not. So just want to make sure that that is clear. There is no NSCAS ACT alternate. Okay. Security visits. You should have been contacted by now if you are going to be part of the NSCAS growth monitoring visits. We ended up with, I think, 50 schools that we are visiting. If you have not been contacted, then please, as a DAC, make sure that you personally or the principal monitors at least one NSCAS test administration, one grade, one content area. That's all that we are asking you to do. There are forms that have been shared with you on the DAC Facts newsletter. If you don't have that or are unaware of that, reach out to Polly Bowie and she will provide you with that link. So any questions on that? If you have not been contacted as part of the monitoring visits by NDE personnel, then please be prepared to monitor at least one session on your own. No, if you have been contacted by me or someone else on the assessment team, then you are done. You did?
Yeah, we got one, I think it was the 6th, someone emailed.
Okay.
So I just wanted to make sure, has everybody reached out who's planning to?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody should on the team has made their contact and they're following up with someone who maybe hasn't, but yeah.
I thought you said that we would get those by February 28th. So I was kind of surprised that it was like a week later that someone reached out.
Huh. Okay. I'll have to ask Polly what's up with that. I do know that there was one instance where we reached out to a school that was on the list, and they didn't have the grades actually. I think they were like a K2 building instead of a K3 or a 3-4. So had to find another school. So that might be, I don't know if that's
Maybe we
the
were the
situation.
replacement site.
Yeah.
But it was a middle school though. So I don't know.
Okay. Well, I'll reach out to Polly and find out what's up. But you should have only been expecting a contact until February 28th. But if you are able to accommodate that, that's wonderful, Bethany. I appreciate that.
We will. I just was like, okay, is this it now?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, it's it. It's it. Okay, recruiting for summer work. Oh, folks, we sure have appreciated all the Nebraska educators that have contacted these folks already. But please, we're looking for more. We're supposed to have anywhere between 30 and 60 participants, depending on what the work is. So please share that information again with your teachers, with your principals, curriculum coordinators, whomever. The application link is on the slides. It's on the DAC Facts newsletter. If you have any questions, please reach out to these 3 individuals. For those who are interested in working with the alternate assessment, and that can be general education teachers as well, not just those that serve that special education position, please contact Sharon Heater for all of those content areas if you have someone in mind. Really do need your help. Appreciate it so much. We understand how we just know that this is a big ask. So appreciate anything that you can do to support this effort. And the next DAC update webinar is actually going to be March 24th. So please make sure that you have that. Next week, I'll be traveling back from one of the planning meetings for next year. And I won't get back until too late to put this kind of thing together. So March 24th, and realize that that's getting close to the beginning of the test window. Hopefully there'll be good things to share, and we'll be answering questions, but understand that we will answer your questions without this kind of platform. So any questions right now? Okay, we noticed that students who transferred within LPS have an updated enrollment school on NSCAS, but the test school is not. Is there an easy way to fix these that wouldn't involve going into each test session for each student by hand to change it? Maggie, any idea? Or is that something we need to take back?
it's a bunch of clicks because you have to go find the student, then you have to go to the test session, then you have to open ELA, and then you can change the test school, and then you have to go back and find math, and you can open that and you can change it. Their enrollment, school of enrollment is updating, but their tickets aren't, like the thing that's associated with the test is stuck. It's not moving, and I'm afraid it's going to be every single kid who transfers.
Okay.
Please submit a ticket to NWA, Bethany, because this was a glitch last spring and they were able to fix it.
Okay.
So I'm glad you've noticed that glitch is back and before testing starts. So
yeah,
let's get that submitted to support, as soon as possible.
Do we think that, okay, so one thing that's kind of good about it, and if them fixing it breaks this, I'd rather them fix it because it's a lot of kids that are going to transfer. But we were able to assign, like, to our Rule 18 program students to a testing school. And it didn't update overnight and put them back where we had them. So that worked fine. I'm afraid if they fix it, that it'll break that. But I guess we have them fix it and then we see what happens, I guess.
Okay. All right.
And then the other question I had, so if we have a student who is enrolled in our district according to advisor, but they aren't rostered in MAP, is there somewhere that those kids will show up? Because, so we can fix what's in advisor or fix what's in NSCAS so that we can get not tested codes or testing done? If something goes wrong and they're not rostered, do you know of any way to find them?
We will be doing a couple of, like there at the right at the beginning of the test window, we're going to run a comparison when, like, at the same time that we supply that state roster that will import the IEP and 504 data. At the same time, we'll run a comparison and
Okay.
see if there's any conflicts. And I'm going to do my best to get those, conflicts out to the districts, as soon as possible.
Is there any way we could run that a little later in the window again, so that if anybody transfers in and we somehow,
We can, I can definitely ask NWAA if we can do that.
okay, that would be
Right now, it's
helpful.
just planned at the beginning, at the week of the week of 27th, and then again, the week of, I believe, May 1st.
Okay, so right
which-
at the end, but if we wait, if we wait till May, yeah, as long as we have another week left, we should be okay.
Yeah.
I just, I would love if everything would be right.
Me
Advisor,
too.
but that is not our experience all the time.
I
and
know.
So we just want to make sure we don't miss someone, or
Yeah,
we don't miss not tested codes for someone or something.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
I
Yes,
understand.
yes. Yeah, we would love that too. Yeah. Melissa.
Maggie, on that 31st, this is piggybacking kind of off of Bethany's question, but I know you said you were uploading the information to get 504 special ed and EL. Is that a full upload then? So really it's
No.
not.
Well, I guess it depends on what you define as a full upload. We're gonna pull all of the students that we think should be testing from advisor, but the only data that's going to be actually uploaded will just be those key demographic data fields, data elements. So there won't be any, like if there's students in the advisor file and aren't in the NSCAS system, then they're not going to get captured.
Okay.
They're not going to import any new students into the system. They're only going to capture the ones that the districts have already rostered. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's exactly what I
Okay.
wanted to know.
Okay.
Could they? Because that would be the way to get all those Rule 18s in.
No.
Okay, that's
And
fine. But you're going to do
because
that.
We've made that policy decision that districts must upload their new students. It's the districts that rostering that is the one true source. So we won't be inputting any new students from an advisor file.
Okay, but you're going to do that back in the background comparison, and you'll say, so we could get a whole list of
Yes.
kids that aren't in there. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
That piggybacks back to Bethany's question.
But that
we will
give
run
us-
comparisons.
That
a
will
couple
give
of
us the
comparisons.
ability to run that accommodation support roster.
Yes,
Because-
that's why we're doing this, is that accommodation report will actually be useful this time.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks for your questions. Anybody else? Okay, FYI, I know this is an assessment, but FYI, the department has released the posting for the new, used to be called an academic officer, but Corey Epler's position. So that's been released. If you know of anybody who would be interested in that position, please have them reach out to the job site and start the process. We are on the hunt. Okay, any other questions? All right, have a wonderful rest of your Friday, great weekend, and we'll see you at least in a couple weeks, if not before. Thank you all. Appreciate you coming.
Thanks, everybody.